Alright, let's get started. It's the 30th of October 2005, and we're continuing our old history from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Where we got up to talking about your childhood. So it's been a little while between drinks.
And I'm no longer a little child.
That's right. So, obviously, the camera never lies, Dad. Well, I want to start talking today, Dad, just about your spiritual growth.
Yeah.
What are some of your earliest memories of spirituality or an awareness of God? Or how did you begin your spiritual journey?
I guess it was because of my family, my mother particularly, and Bill and I were the youngest in the family, and I can only relate to what Bill and I did mostly, because others were older. Ian, who was the next one up, was 3 years older than us, so it's really what took place for Bill and me, and I think we had lots of opportunities. There were lots of people in the house helping my mother, mum, and like a next door neighbour, an ex-farm. She would help Mum, and with cooking, with kids, looking after them, and I think at times there were like 13 people around the place. So we did get well looked after, but and lots of things. We did lots of things, and one of those things was to be read to, and to talk about God, because Mum was particularly interested in Christian things, and had been well instructed as a child by the Presbyterian Church. Right. Her relatives came from Scotland in the middle of the 1850s, and so that's how it came to be. Mum was born in Australia, and so she had a large part of what happened, not only to Bill and me, but to the whole family. Dad was more a person out working outdoors, and Mum was more the person looking after the home, the food, whatever happened at the house. She was in charge of all that, as well as going and milking cows and doing things around the farm as well. So just an extraordinary person, and because she did so much, I think she was expected to do a lot. But anyway, no, she taught us a lot about God, and
in what ways did she do that? What were some of the...
Well, she was a person who never refused anybody anything, and once, a long time ago, and I don't remember, it was before our time, a Christian group called in at our farm, and even though our house was well away from the road, they would still call in and sold Mum a set of books written about Christian things, from the beginning of like Genesis, going right through to the end of the New Testament, and Mum would, and when we were old enough, Mum would read stories from one of those books to us at night, until we were able to read ourselves. So strangely, we were good readers, and that was partly because of what Mum did. Yeah, she was a very good reader also. And she, in part of the house, she had shelves with books that she had read. Not a lot, but like a little library of books.
Mm.
So anyway, she was the one who read the books to us, from Old Testament to New Testament.
Did you like the stories?
Oh, they were marvellous. They were written in such a way that were very appealing to us. And I remember at school, Carrajung South Primary School, the teacher, it was only about 30 kids go to that school, went to that school, and the teacher had asked, it happened that from Yarram came the Presbyterian minister to do RE, like once in every so often. And but because Mum had read these books to us, both Bill and I were very knowledgeable about what were in the books, what was in the books. And one day the minister came from Yarram, and he said thought he was giving us some information, and thought he was going to trick everyone. He said, what was the name of something or other, but a certain person in the Old Testament that no one else had ever heard of, and I've forgotten what it is now, but and I piped up and I said, da-da-da-da. And he stopped and turned around, and he'd never heard anyone in a primary school tell what was, who that name was,
right,
or what the name was. I explained to him later how we knew that what it was, because we were read to by our mother from some of those books. So we did get it's silly to say we didn't learn anything about God, because we did. But Mum didn't say, this is school, or this is whatever, or this is, what do you call it? See, I've lost my then.
Church or religion.
All about religion, or she didn't say anything like that. She just said, oh, would you like to hear more about the story from about Abraham or whatever? So that's what we thought it was all about, the stories and the Bible. So Mum did school as well.
Right. And she took you to church?
The church
occasionally?
was Anglican, and it was held like once every 3 months at one stage. Other stages it might have been once a month. But she would always try to, it was a Sunday after lunch, she would always try and get ready and go to that service whenever it was. And she would always try and take some of the family with her, including Bill and me. I guess the others, well, they might have attended too, but I can't remember them attending.
And your dad, did he attend?
Dad never attended that I can remember.
Right.
No. But you see, he was brought up as he was a, what's her name?
Anglican?
Anglican, yeah. And his sister too was Anglican. But he married Mum, and Mum said that everyone had to be Presbyterian.
As it was in those days.
Yeah, that's right. So that was good. And, although we were very isolated, it wasn't that we didn't have any knowledge about God or the Bible, because we did. And but it was, I think, partly due to our mother's efforts.
And you were saying once, Dad, there was a story that went around the family that as a young child you had an awareness of God, of His reality. When you looked at a flower once, you were saying.
Oh, yes. Well, we did. And that was partly due to our mother talking about how God had done this and how God had done that, and who God was in a very simple way. And I can remember it was spring once, and the whole garden was full of daffodils and all that sort of stuff. And Mum had taken us out into the garden, and I think one of us said, it might have been me, oh, isn't God great to create these kind of things in the garden? So that was the sort of thing that our mother had encouraged that.
So there was an awareness there and belief
Yes,
in God from a young age.
that's right, yeah. And I never ever, I can't remember ever not believing in God or believing in what he had done and what he can do for us in a very simple way through childhood. It was never pressured or anything like that from our mother, but the knowledge that she had was really much beyond that we understood ourselves. So that was her God had helped her to do things.
So did that get challenged when you went to high school or you went to teachers' college?
When we went to high school, we had more, because at Yarram there were several church people there, and it was it the Presbyterian or the, I can't remember who it was.
Right, one of the denominations.
Hmm?
One denomination.
One of the denominations, yeah. And we had like RE every week, once a week, and this guy would come in, and he would a severe kind of a fellow, and when he spoke, everyone listened, because he said, "You all got to listen because what I'm telling you is very important." So everyone did listen.
Right. He spoke with authority.
Yeah, he did really. But he put things very straight at who God was and what he had done and what was our responsibility toward that. He wasn't pushing us to do anything, but he was presenting the case and saying, well, now what will we do about it? And so and then left it up to us to think about it and talk to him about it if we wanted to.
And how did you respond to
I
it?
did. I learned a lot from him, but was never pushy or forward enough to go up and talk to him.
Right. But did it help you to understand?
Yes, it did.
The message of God?
Of course, yes. Whether I realised it or not, but it did. And so I was there until Form 5, because that's only what the school went up to, Form 5. And then at the end of that time went off to Teachers College. But during that time at Yarram High School, there was I'd learnt a lot from those guys, the pastors that had come in and each year and taken us for different parts of things, what it was
Right.
like to be spiritual.
And that was just one lesson a week or a
One
couple
lesson
of
a
lessons?
week, yeah.
Did you go to church in that time?
One lesson a week.
Was it still
Only what I described, because we lived out up at Carriajung, which is way up in the bush.
Right, so it's still once every 3 months.
Once every 3 months. But at least when I went to high school, I was getting instruction that turned into once a week.
Yeah, a bit more regular.
It was, yeah. So I did learn a lot, I must say. But never, probably yes, committing myself. But in those days, there was never this strong, you've got to do this or you've got to do that. But it was a good teaching though, and it was, this is what God expects of you, to live for Him. And when I went to Teachers College, am I going too far now?
No, keep going.
Teachers College in Geelong, because I'd never been to Geelong in my life, and it seemed like was a way up, like for some city that I've never been to, but it was just an ordinary place in the country. Well, not in the country, but the coast.
Yeah.
A lovely place, and appointed to live down there, away from Carriajung, of course, in Yarram, miles away, and live with people from other parts of Victoria. The men's hostel was right on the coast. That was a lovely thing to do for 2 years, to live right on the coast, the beach, and all this sort of stuff that I'd never had anything to do with in my life, which had its downfalls too, because others at the college could swim and do all this marvellous stuff. Except one thing I could do was play tennis, which was really good. But
which you'd done in Carrigain as a tennis court.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, and some of the students who lived in the same thing that I lived in, what do you call it? Dormitory, yeah, along the coast there. But on a Sunday, it wasn't only me, but there was another one that I had, a friend that I got friendly with this other guy, and he had been from another group from Western Victoria, Church of Christ, and he seemed to know all the Church of Christ people in Geelong, and invited me to go along to their services, as well as me going to the Presbyterian church.
Oh, so when you went to Geelong, you started going to the Presbyterian church?
That's right, yes, because I was brought up as a Presbyterian.
And most people in those days in the 50s went to church, didn't they?
Yes.
Was it most of your contemporaries at the Teachers' College?
Quite a lot went. Well, good few were Presbyterian,
right,
or similar. And so on Sunday morning, we would all, where we lived, we would say, anyone going to church this morning? And we'd gather up a few people and go to church. It was that kind of thing. But this other friend that I had, he wasn't a Presbyterian, but as I said, he was something else.
Church of Christ.
Church of Christ, that's right. But at times I did go with him, probably in the evening. And that was actually at the Church of Christ. Early in that year, they had a special speaker come, and they had special meetings of a minister who had visited Geelong especially for that occasion, and had a meeting every night, I think, for the whole week. And so my friend invited me to go along and hear this guy, and I was hearing stuff that was just wonderful. I thought, this is just amazing, because he was building on what I had already heard, and saying what we should be doing and how we should be doing it. How would we become Christians? How would we become the people that God wanted us to be? He was developing all these things each night, and I was, this is really true? And they were following not their old hymn book, but they had a special book of hymns and songs, Christian songs, that they sang each night. And this was the kind of singing that I hadn't heard before in a church. It was just wonderful. To me, it was bright and happy and telling about God and what He can do. And I thought, well, this is amazing. I enjoyed it all, and it helped me in my Christian life to give my all to God there and then. And so going to Geelong Teachers' College was a greater thing that God had given me to do than I ever thought.
So in that time at that Church of Christ church, in those meetings, did you felt like that's where you encountered God?
It's
more
where
fully, or
encountered, not only found out more about God and what He can do each day for us, and us living for Him and giving our lives to Him. All this was developed and thought through at that time. It was just amazing. It didn't stop me from going to the old Presbyterian church, because there was something about them too that I liked. But I did find something really new in the Church of Christ, where, especially in those meetings, who God was and how He helps us day by day and lives in us. So that was how I met God, in a special way. Wasn't that it was the first time I'd ever heard of God, because I think that was developed through childhood, but I learnt more on how to do it.
So was there a bolt of lightning or a flash in the sky?
I didn't see any of that, but I did see things happening in my own decisions to make of who I was in God, and what I could do and what I couldn't do, and what it was God showing me how to live a life for Him. I think it was the beginning. It was the beginnings. Not that was the be all and end all, because ever since then we're still learning and doing things that God wants us to. So no, they were the amazing things that happened to me there in Geelong. And then Mum and Dad and Bill moved from Carajung in the Gippsland and went to live in Melbourne. And I got to go and see them every weekend or so. That's, I suppose, God was with me from the beginning. That's how I see it, as a child. But I only didn't know the whole story. I still don't know the whole story. But I knew enough, found out enough to find out what God is doing for us, has done for us, and can do for us day by day. And that prepared me in 2 years to move out of there from the course that I was doing and get an appointment out in the country as a teacher. And that's another story.
Yeah. Well, why don't we continue to talk about Teachers College? Because I've heard some funny stories over the years about some of your experiences there. Were there any experiences or people that stand out? Any highlights at that time at Teachers College? Obviously, finding God in a greater way was a significant one. Were there others? Were there other people or other moments that you can recall?
As far as Christian things are concerned?
Oh no, just in general.
Anything at all. Yes. Well, I think as a child and living away out in the bush, we were very limited in what we could do and where we could go. We did have an old vehicle, I can remember, that my brother Ted would drive around, and that would go into Yarram and back again, maybe once a week. But I think living in Geelong was finding out more about the world, more about what was happening in Australia, things that I'd never. Well, I mean, we had things like that at school, but yeah, learning about Geelong, the city of Geelong, learning about what other people were like, because living in Yarram was so few at high school that it was not funny, really.
And all country people too, I guess.
Yes, it was just like 120 kids at the high school, and that's not many for today's kind of thing.
So what were some of the new experiences, the new modern things that you encountered?
Dare I say it, that when I arrived at the college, I was very raw, very, very raw, coming from the bush virtually. And there's a city and this place to live in with all these other students there. And I actually had to learn how to, I learned what a toilet was like, what do you call it?
A flush.
A flush toilet.
Mechanism.
Oh, goodness, what's this? But I had to learn about that pretty quickly. and try and
Came in
pretend,
handy.
yeah, that's right. And try and pretend that was something oh yes,
I'm familiar with that.
yes, familiar with that, without telling anyone that I'd never seen one before. And also, when I got there, they said they try and put people in charge of different things, and they said, "Oh, you're in charge of the." Goodness me, you're in charge of the. Just as well, it wasn't like this one.
Yeah, that's all right.
Where they wash their clothes at the.
Oh yeah, the laundry.
The laundry and the what do you call it?
Ironing. Dry cleaning.
No, the the power thing. Washing your clothes, putting your clothes in the
Washing machine.
washing machine.
Right.
Yes, well done. And this was new because I'd never put clothes in a washing machine.
Right. Because Mum had always done it on the farm.
That's right.
In coppers and
But
things.
I very quickly learned how to do that, and was able to sort of tell people, because that was part of my job on the first year, was to make sure that everything went well in that laundry. And so I learned how to do that pretty quickly, and wash my own things and make sure that other things were brought out from beds and things like that on the weekend, or sent away for. Some of the stuff was sent off to be laundered elsewhere, laundries. So that was a place of learning, and how to then to iron your own clothes, which I could do very quickly, and so that sort of thing was a big move forward for me, learning, and also we had other things to do in the house itself, which was very old house, but a very nice one, with very high ceilings, and so all that. And I was sort of became, well, I could do things pretty well in the house. Yeah, and make sure that things were going along well. Not that I did all that, but that was part of my job, and I think I did that well.
What did you do for free time?
Free time?
Like, say, would you get time off on a weekend to?
Yes. Yes, Saturday and Sunday it was free time. But usually, part of the free time we were. Let me see. Were assignments to do, and work to do for the college, and preparing for the week to come. So Saturday, and there was plenty to do. It wasn't just idle play, but then probably Saturday afternoon we would go off somewhere, anywhere. And also something that developed was those who wanted to would go to the theatre or see films that we'd never seen before, and that, to me, that was something I'd hardly ever been to, the films. So that's what we did. The whole group of us would go perhaps on a Wednesday night to a film or something. So that to me was good.
And so you'd go out. What would you go out to dinner and then see a film, or?
No, usually just followed all the instructions that we had to do, because we were, in a strange way, we were very strict. The students were very strictly monitored in the thing. You just couldn't do anything that you wanted to. If you were wanted to go out somewhere, you had to tell the person in charge of the thing, who was one of the lecturers at the college. He lived in at the place, and we would have to write down what we were doing, and let him know, and all that sort of thing. It was not just do what you like. But usually we would be allowed to. And if this guy, who was the lecturer, thought that we never ever did any work for the college, and we were out all the time. He would talk to us, and it was his job to make sure that everything was going right.
Keep you in line.
Which was good.
And what were the people that you were with like? Did you make good friends?
Yeah.
In the place?
Yes. I think, in fact, we're all friendly. I suppose there were one or two, or some, but not many, that had their own ideas of what they should be doing. Some may have known people from other places there. They'd be off doing things with them, and but like I say, those of us who sort of went to the pictures or did this or did that, we sort of all did it together.
Right.
And very, very few you couldn't say that there were all the men were chasing after the women, and that wasn't so in those days.
Right.
No. So, but except on when there was when there was a dance or something at the college, every now and again they had something like that. Everyone was expected to go to the dance, and anyone and everyone.
How did you find those? The dances?
Not very good.
Why is that?
Because I had no experience of the dance. But I suppose I did try to do something, but it was never very good. Actually, me and a couple of others, I think it was, went into Geelong and to a place where you learnt how to dance.
The dance academy?
Yeah, like that, yeah. And so, but I think I ended up being worse than I was when I started.
And did you pass?
I don't know. I've forgotten about that.
Repressed those memories.
Yeah, that's right. What was I going to say?
So, being a dancer probably wasn't the top of your ambitions.
Yeah, it was, but it was good because it wasn't only you doing things, but others would want to do something. They say, "Can you come and we'll take some lessons on this or that," or so. Together we worked on things, and I learnt a lot just from others, and how to do it, what to do. But dancing wasn't one of my big
Strongest points.
yeah, that's right. But there are other things to do as well. I would always go to the dance, I think, because everyone was expected to do that. And there was probably always something we could do, but I didn't like it much. Mainly because of my upbringing. But like swimming wasn't one of my strong points either, because we went to the creek in the summer, but and once in a blue moon might have gone to the coast where there was a beach, but didn't have that experience either.
Right, didn't have much opportunity.
It wasn't part of the thing.
To swim.
Yeah. So there were things to do because we were right there at the coast, staying. Our house was right there, and a very good place. And there was always something to. When I got a bicycle, during the 2 years, we used to ride bikes all around the place, and if we were in teaching practice, which we did a lot of in those days. I don't think they do so much of it these days.
Right.
We were appointed to go, and it might have been 7 miles away, so that meant way out along the coast to do a 2-week or more thing at that school. So we had to have a bicycle or something to ride on. There was no other way of getting there. And so I think most of us had bikes by the end of the time, and I did enjoy going out to the country and learning how because I'd already been brought up in the country school, and that was one of my strong points, teaching in the country.
Yeah.
And later was to be sent to a school south of Bendigo, which you have seen in that area probably. So, yeah, all that happened, all that training happened down around Geelong.
And your colleagues in Geelong, were they, or your fellow students, were they from the country or were they from all over?
Particularly, yes, they were from around Victoria, Western Victoria, and let me see, from around Yarram, where I went to school. Another girl that was in the same form that I was in. There's only 5 of us in leaving certificate, and both she and I got passed at the end of the thing and went to Geelong Teachers College. So, what was I going to say as a result of that?
Oh, just background, where they were from, your fellow students.
So they were from Western Victoria, and even right across to Yarram and Gippsland. Some from Gippsland, and some even from northern. There seemed to be a very wide spread of where people came from, even right up in the middle of Victoria.
Did you keep in touch with any of them after Teachers College?
Let me see. Until, well, yes, I would meet in Melbourne. I was often in Melbourne. And you walk down on the Melbourne, along the Melbourne street in, let's say Saturday, and you're sure to meet someone from the college.
Right.
Yeah, even lecturers. So there was that kind of contact.
How did you find Melbourne when you first went?
Melbourne was good. We liked Melbourne.
Did you go in there from the Teachers College, or had you been there before?
Well, because our Auntie Hannah lived in Melbourne, we had, and she'd been there since the 40s, I think.
Right.
So, she'd been in Melbourne all her life, but yeah. So we knew Melbourne pretty well, and we knew where the interesting parts were. And
from visiting as a child.
As a child,
right.
We'd visit Auntie Hannah, and then when they sold the farm in 19, whatever it was,
50 something.
1952 or 53. Then Mum and Dad and Bill went and lived with Auntie Hannah, and I would then visit. That meant I could go home every now and again to Melbourne. So yeah, for about 15 years, Melbourne was our home.
Your base.
Yeah, and we got to know Melbourne very well and enjoy it. We thought Melbourne was one of the best places. And of course Auntie Hannah knew Melbourne very well too, having lived there all her life. And she never worked, she always lived at her home.
Wow, and so going on from Teachers College, where was your first job?
After Teachers College, I was sent to jobs here and there. For instance, I was sent to sent to Gippsland, in a place the other side of Yarram, not where we lived side of Yarram, but on the other side, going towards Melbourne. I was appointed to a little country school, which only had like 7 pupils.
Right.
And 2 of them were year 7 and year 8. It was a very isolated place. And for a term I was there. When I say a term, and before I could even get the place organised, because it was also where the hall. The school was also the hall, what do they call it, country hall, and trying to get that organised and get the 7 kids organised. I got a phone call from the, what do you call it, Army.
The army.
The Army. And this guy said, they were shouting at me over the phone. I said, what? Couldn't understand what he was talking about. And he said, you were supposed to be reported for the intake.
National service.
Yeah, national service intake, and it's already started, like a week ago. I said, well, I'd written and asked for an extension because I've just been appointed to this place and I'm trying to make something of it. And he said, you haven't. He ignored the fact that I had already written this thing like a month or so ago. Didn't answer that, and he said, you have such and such an amount of time to get down here and go get on the thing in Melbourne and go to Puckapunyal to this whatever it was. So I said, oh, but I can't just leave the school and the little kids, and you'll do that or you'll be in. So quickly I had to ring the inspector of the schools and tell him immediately what had happened. To this day I don't know what happened. I don't know what the inspector did, what happened to those little kids. I just had to go. And when I was finished after 3 months, it was like one more term for the end of the term, and I got a phone call from the education department saying that I had been appointed to another school way up in Victoria there somewhere. I thought, oh, what about the other school I was in? No answer to that. And
this was after national service.
This was after national service, just had to do what you were told. And so they told me where to go, what to do, so I did it. And I had one term before the end of the year.
Right. Well, tell me about national service, Dad. Are there any experiences, any things that stand out in that? Was it a year and a half?
Oh no, it was only 3 months.
Oh, only 3 months.
3 months service, yeah, that was enough. But it was very interesting. There were different things you could be appointed to, depending on which part of Victoria you came from. And we were, the group that I was in was, what was it?
Artillery?
Who?
Was it artillery?
Artillery, yeah. And firing 25 pounders. That was one of the main things that my group did.
Which is interesting, though, because your father was in the artillery and he fired field artillery in World War One.
Similar, yeah, similar.
It's interesting.
It was.
Connection.
And plus a whole lot of other stuff too that we were doing, how to fire a gun, how to dismantle things like guns and things, and then put them all together again very quickly, and all that sort of stuff. So we did learn a lot of things. It wasn't only the 25 pounders. We had to learn a lot before we could even do the 25 pounders.
What was your job on the actual 25 pounder?
Oh, we had to take turns at doing different things. I actually didn't like doing it because in those days the noise that came out of those 25 pounders was so ear blasting, and I think it could have affected my ears, I'm not sure.
Right.
But it was, nowadays they would be giving people things to put into their ears,
Yeah.
but we didn't have anything like that. It was just go and do it, which was terrible when you come to think of it. Anyway.
Did you load the...
Yeah,
did you load or did you do the sights or the...
No, I think what we had to do was to see how to do any part of it.
Right.
And then when it was to be fired, you were given a thing to do, and I might not have been given a thing to actually pull the trigger or whatever, but to prepare the thing and place it in where it was supposed to go and all that sort of stuff.
So how many worked on the actual gun? Was it a
Oh,
team of 6?
Yeah, something like that. So there was about half a dozen.
So you were in a small team of 6?
I couldn't say exactly 6, but it would be about that 6. Yeah.
Right. And did you
So
have
there'd
to-
be one sitting there, winding the thing down or up, another one making sure that something else would be sitting near him, and those putting the stuff in. There was all that to do.
Was it pretty heavy work?
Yeah, I didn't like it much, but yeah, it was heavy,
Physically demanding?
physically demanding, and the fact that it was making so much noise was not a good thing for my ears. That was what my only thought about the whole thing. But there were other things to do too. There was like, what are those things? Pull the pin out of them and
Oh yeah, hand grenades.
hand grenades, yeah. That was interesting, how to whip out the thing and throw it.
And did you throw them?
Yeah. Don't think I was terribly good at it, but
And they make an almighty bang?
oh yeah, yes. Once you threw it, you would duck down behind what's the name? Where everyone
Trench?
cut in the soil. Yeah. So you got down as soon as you threw it, but you had to be careful you were throwing it in the right place. And
Far enough.
yeah. So there was that, and firing all sorts of guns and not just the but
The rifles and
all the rifles we had to fire rifles.
machine guns as well?
Machine guns,
Pistols?
pistols. Yeah.
Bayonet?
Yes. How to to rip people's to pieces with a bayonet.
All very handy skills for later on.
Yeah. I just
Later in your
needed to know about all that. No, it was, but I found it was very interesting. But as well as doing all that, they had a way of, like as if we were in a school, and showing us how to do all the physical exercises.
Did you do self-defense as well? How to handle yourself in a fight, to box or to
Not so much that.
hand-to-hand fighting?
Not so much that, but yeah, hand-to-hand fighting, and especially using your gun and your bayonet and things like that. How to do that was very important.
Right.
But to actually fight with your fists, I can't remember learning anything about that. I suppose you'd do whatever you could with a bit of wood or a stone, or find out some way of trying to match your enemy.
Mm.
Yeah, all that. So it was a matter of learning in that 3 months of whatever you could about warfare and all that stuff, and how to go about it. And at one stage, I was in a group that was pretending that we were come to a new area in the war, a new place, and we had to build all the gun, put in all the, what do you call them?
Trenches or fortifications?
Yeah, all that, and set up phone things.
Oh yeah, lay phone wire.
Yeah, lay wire for
Communication
phones,
lines.
which I hated because I could always think, well, the enemy must be right there. If we're putting phones here, where is the enemy? So there was all that, but it was enough there to make you think. But a lot of that stuff that we did can't exist now. Some of that stuff. I mean, they've got different ways of calling somebody, not just on a what's the name, old phone, but would
by
be
satellite
or whatever, mobile. So
did it help your dad to understand or appreciate what your dad had gone through in World War One?
Did it help me to understand? Yes, it did.
Yeah,
I appreciate what Dad had done, and the pain that those guys must have gone through. must have been unbearable. Well, I mean, it was a lot of fun for us doing a national service 3-month thing. In fact, it was some of it was very enjoyable. Because the people there that were taking it knew where we came from, and I remember one of them saying one morning, "Oh, Gladwin, you were a teacher, and you must know how to teach, take a lesson on what do you call it? Physical activity, exercise. Yeah, physical, whatever it was." And I said, "Oh yeah, really cheeky." So I had to then go out, go to the front, and the whole thing, everyone there in line, all lined up by the whatever his name was, and then I had to put them through the whole class through the activities of a class, of a lesson, PE lesson, you know, and which I thought was a very funny, but also trying to show us that if we had a gift or had something that we're able to do, we should be doing it.
Yeah.
And if I was a trained teacher, then I should be able to set people going like that. And I think at the end of the 2 years, at the end of the time, the person who was in charge of us, like this thing, lieutenant or whatever his name was, he had written reports about everyone in the thing, and he had written very good reports about me, and I don't know why, but I was able to do this and that, thinking about my teaching, that I was a trained teacher.
Right.
And I was only 18, mind, just a kid. But no, there was a lot about that I enjoyed, and it was a lot of very interesting, a lot of fun.
You were telling me once, Dad, you got in trouble for dismissing your PE class early. What happened with that?
When I was about 18, I was a bit silly as well.
I can relate to that, Dad.
Just a bit silly, until you were put right by somebody. You know, that happened, I think. No, but there was a lot.
But one class, you were saying, you decided to give them an early mark at the end.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. What was it?
You were telling me once you gave the class an early mark.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you got in trouble afterwards.
Yeah, I would have gotten in trouble. Yeah, I think I remember that now. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun too, you see. It wasn't just, I was being a bit silly, but they've got ways of putting you right.
Did you ever get in trouble and have to do any punishments or?
Not usually, no. Except I think I told you about Bill, who was in the service
tell us about
from
that.
Melbourne, yeah. And they saw Bill there and they thought that was me, or they saw me and they thought that was Bill, or what, and the whole place came to a standstill while this poor sergeant, he thought that Bill was me. And poor old Bill really got it. And
so what happened?
Well, their thing was not far from us, and this fellow, who was my captain or whatever his name was, he saw Bill over with the other thing from Melbourne. This thing that I was in was from the country.
Right.
And he drew, everything came to a stop. That I, Bob Gladwin, should be over there with the Melbourne team. And how stupid I was, must have been. And it was to get back there immediately. And I was already back there. Poor Bill.
And so then what happened to Bill?
I had to explain that wasn't me. This was me. That was Bill. And he was from Melbourne and I was from the country.
So did Uncle Bill get in trouble?
I think he did for a while, yeah. And you know, the sergeants never like to be wrong, so somehow have to make a joke of it. But I did like national service. It was interesting, and it helped me to learn to be more sensible, and there was a lot to be learnt from national service, and it was important.
And discipline and
Discipline.
practical skills of
Yeah.
survival, and
Yeah, that's right.
so how to sew up your clothes and that sort of thing.
Yeah. A lot of which, coming from the country, I knew how to do anyway.
Right.
And going to Teachers College, where we looked after our clothes and ironed and did all that sort of stuff. So
This
yeah.
helped you learn to kill people.
But we didn't really. Yeah, we did exercises like that,
Right.
but a lot of us didn't ever. It had never gone to service, fortunately.
Because it would have been just after the Korean War, wouldn't it?
Well, it was
A couple of years after it was
yeah,
finished.
it was 1954. Yeah, 1954.
So that's the year
National
after the
Service.
Korean War finished.
Yeah.
And did the prospect of war, was that an issue for you growing up, thinking you might have to go to war and you might have to fight?
Well, it was all, we knew about that, but I never thought too much about it. If we had to go, we had to go. But it would have been different if they had have said, well, you're going to national service now, and you will be, this happened later, and you may be appointed to go overseas, depending on who was chosen, because they had
a draft.
a draft thing.
For Vietnam.
Yeah, all that. And a lot did go, and some were never returned. They were just national service people like we were, which is sad.
Were there any people you knew who went to Vietnam?
No, not really.
Right.
No.
And
No.
So, Dad, we were talking about Vietnam before. So, were you exempted from Vietnam because you were teaching, or was it because you were overseas by that time? It was a few years after, wasn't it? 10 years after.
I'm not sure of the date, but Vietnam was people who were trained at that time had to go to Vietnam.
Right. So of
So
that later
that's-
generation.
The people who like us, who were before that, that was our time, and that was finished. So we weren't appointed to do anything afterwards, unless something had happened immediately. Then we would be subscripted, whatever. Conscripted, yeah. So yes, fortunately we weren't part of the Vietnam thing.
Right. And so after national service, Dad, where was your next teaching appointment?
After national service, yes.
So your early teaching career?
For the term that straight after I got out of national service, that was in the middle of the year, and then I was appointed to a little country school, way up in the thing there, and it was the last term of the year, and I trained the little school kids for their thing that they were going to come to. What do you call that?
Concert?
Concert, yes. They were all ready and prepared, and they knew what they were going to do. They were going to sing songs and do all that sort of stuff for the concert. And this is like 10 days or a week before breaking up for school.
Right.
In December for Christmas. And then this guy appears and says that he was the teacher there before me, and he was to be reappointed. And I said, well, no one's ever told me that. So he's hanging around the village, or hanging around area, not at school though, and I then suddenly got a call from the education department saying that this teacher was to come back to his spot. Now,
Right.
I don't think he was really appointed as a permanent teacher there, but it seemed like that he got back there somehow, because that's where he was before.
So where did you get posted from there?
So I was sent then to out at the bottom of Victoria to now you've got me here, to a country school, but it was a large school going up to grade 8 with some secondary teachers there, and but because it was only a week before Christmas, I certainly didn't have any thing to do really much before the end of the year.
Right.
So that then, so I was hoping that I'd get appointed somewhere for the new year coming up. That was 1955.
Right.
Yeah. But come 1955, the holidays finished, and I tried to find out where I was being appointed. I know there was no appointment. I was still to come to that school, and so then the principal had to turn around and make find spots for me to do things, classes to take here and there, and what have you. It was a very good school, I must say. Although I didn't want to be there, I'd rather have been appointed as a teacher out in the country somewhere,
Right.
by myself. But and the teachers that were there were very good. Principal, the whole staff were very good. But I think my attitude wasn't that good, because I was disappointed that I wasn't sent off to the country and all that. So, and the people there were very kind, very good, and I think I learned things from just being there.
So were you there for a couple of years, or?
To be there just for as long as the education department thought. Then I tweaked to the fact that, or someone showed me probably, how to apply for positions from the thing that came around from the education department. And so I applied for, I think, something like 50 different positions out in the country, bush schools and what have yous. The sort of schools that I would like to teach in might have been a fair way from Melbourne, but would be
But you didn't mind being at the
no,
country?
it would be very interesting. So, and of course I could have failed in getting any of those schools, but I was very, very thrilled when I found out that I had won a teaching place, a school, as the principal, and well, no one else but just me. And that was at Knowsley, just south of Bendigo, between Bendigo and Heathcote. And in the second term, I was to go there. So I was only one term more in the other.
Right.
So, but it was a place to learn things, even though my attitude probably wasn't that good. I probably did learn a few things that I should have learned somewhere else, rather than going to the country by myself and learning them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Valuable.
then started at Knowsley in that year, 1955, and was there until 1958, I think. Yeah.
And you boarded in that time with
Just down from
Claire?
the school was the post office, and that was run by a family, a couple who had 6 boys in their family, all Catholic kids, a Catholic family, and the mother had been working to get them all into Bendigo to go to the Catholic schools in Bendigo for a long time, and finally, when I was there, she accomplished that, and so that all her family, including the older kids, went to school at Bendigo. So that left less kids at the school, at my school, but that didn't matter because at that particular school I learned a lot of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, especially from the inspector who called in every now and again and gave her reports on me once every year. Came and stayed a whole day and wrote out all these reports, what he found that I was doing or wasn't doing, and all this sort of stuff, which I learned a lot from. The first year, I think it was it 50? It was either 56 or 57 he came and wrote a report for me. Then the next year gave me a whole lot of information that I needed to have and use in a school like that. Very good. And then the following year he wrote another report, and each time they do a report they give you a little mark out of 10. No, it's really A, B, C, D.
Right.
Yeah. And the third year that I was there, he came and did another report and gave me another mark. And by the end of that time, the third year, I had enough high marks, so to speak, from the inspector to gain, To gain, my memory's failing me again, to gain a thing to the next level as a teacher. So I started off as level 4. So if you can win a thing like 3 good reports from the inspector, or very good reports from the inspector, then you could apply for a level 3, being a level 3 teacher. So that's what I did. I applied then. I could see I had 3 very good reports. Applied for a move from there, and which I enjoyed, being in with that family, living there with them, and it was just a lovely place. Of course, I bought a car in that time, and I was able to travel to Melbourne and see Mum and Dad and Bill and Auntie Hannah, and stay there for a weekend or a week, or stay there for holidays. So that was really good. I enjoyed that, being there, yeah. And enjoyed being a teacher, one teacher school, and helping the kids. And that was what gave me good reports from the inspector, that I had done some things in the school that hadn't been done for a long time, like cleaned the inside of the school out and repainted the inside of the school. Right. It wasn't my business to do it, but painting and was a big thing, and there were books and stuff all over the place when I went there, stuff everywhere. So I thought, well, this has got to be done properly. The library's got to be set up. So I knew how to, what's the name of the library, to put it all into whatever it is.
Categories,
put it in.
Numbers.
Yeah, in its right place. So I did that, and set up like a library in the bookshelves.
And that impressed the inspector?
The inspector was very impressed by that, extremely, yeah. And all the old, because they have, once a month they have the, what's the name, come from the Melbourne, from the offices there, the, what do you call it? Yeah,
The librarian or the inspectors?
where they advertise their schools and where you can apply for stuff.
Right.
All this stuff coming to each teacher in Victoria. So I just can't think what you call it. But anyway, all that. So that was just all in heaps and boxes. So I got it all out and put it all in months and years, and put it all in proper thing like a proper library would have, and put all that together, and that looked terrific. That's the sort of thing that impressed the inspector. Not only that, but it also helped me to be doing things properly, and not just what everyone else has done for the last 50 years. So that was great.
It didn't get too lonely being by yourself? Were you the only person your age in that area?
Yeah, oh,
in
yes.
Moseley?
Oh no, not the place. People I was staying with had their older children. They weren't all young children. Some of them were my age.
So did you knock around with them?
And a bit younger, just slightly younger than I was. So yes, we did things together. And but it was lonely for them too, I would say. But
there wouldn't have been much to do.
No,
around the town.
but they had more contact with because they were then going to school in where was it, Bendigo.
Yeah.
Bendigo. That they had friends in Bendigo and all that sort of stuff that I didn't have. But I also every now and again would go to Melbourne in my newly bought car.
What kind of car was that?
What kind of car was it?
An Austin?
Osney 30? Osney 30, yeah. Something like that. So that was good. And Dad used to meet me outside of Melbourne. And he knew I was coming on a Friday afternoon. And he would, he'd ring up and tell me that he was waiting for me at the da-da-da, where the tram line started there.
Oh, right on the edge of town.
Yeah.
So he would catch the tram.
Yeah, to get all these
That's
things, which would take him a long time to get there from the car, and he would be waiting. So I'd come to the beginning of where the tram started and look around, and sure enough, there's Dad sitting on the seat, waiting. I'd pull up, and he would jump in, and off we'd go to Caulfield, which is quite a long way on the other side of town. So that was Dad, although he could, I couldn't understand what he was saying, but I could understand him, but he couldn't understand what I was saying. But I would smile and say great stuff, nice to see you, and all that.
But he couldn't hear you very well, could he?
No, unless we wrote something.
Right. Which is hard to do while you're driving.
Yeah, that is true. But he was very good in that he would tell you what was happening on the road, or be careful when you get up to there, because he'd
Camberwell Junction.
Oh yeah, he knew it back to front all those years.
Right.
Yeah. Even though he lived in Farragut, before that he was a Melbourne person. Plus all the other stuff that he had to do. Anyway, yeah. So that was good. Dad was a great help, and we grew closer to him when he was in Melbourne, away from Farragut. So that was something really good. Yeah. So that was Knowsley. And
Dad, you often talk about Mr. Rose, whom you met in Knowsley. Was that in Knowsley?
No, I lived in Knowsley, and that was what was the other one? It was Bendigo, come through Knowsley, and then down to the next town, which was something I just can't think of.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's where Mr. Rose was the minister for the Presbyterian Church, and carried out his work there. But he wasn't. He was a particular kind of a minister.
Was he Baptist or?
No, church. He was
Church of Christ.
Not Church of Christ. He was
Congregation.
no.
Anglican.
Presbyterian.
Right.
Presbyterian. But he was, although he hadn't been, he was an excellent and wonderful person who knew his scriptures back to front. He was a great teacher and preacher, and great helper of individual people to become Christians, which was really something for the Presbyterian Church in that time and era.
And Mary, probably. Both.
And his wife were really wonderful. But they were battling, I could see that. And he actually took the initiative and came and stopped at Knowsley one day and talked to me. And said how they would love to have me come to the services there, Presbyterian services. And which when you talk to Mr. Rose, you couldn't not do that.
Right.
Because he was all bent up and had a terrible thing on his back, all bent up. So his head was down here and he would look up at you like that. And some people didn't like him because he wasn't the smart looking. Oh, he was very smart looking. The way he dressed and everything was very wonderful. But it was his back, instead of being like that, it was like that. And so I got to know him and his wife very much. And they were so good and so helpful. And I'd be at school sometimes, perhaps a Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning, before the kids had got there. And there'd be a knock on the door and I'd go out and, "Here's Mr. Rose." I said, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm just on my way to Bendigo. But look, I brought these books and things for you to read." I thought, "Oh, you're just marvellous and how you're there to help people." And then he would say, he was someone who knew funny things, and he would say something funny and we'd both laugh and he'd be on his way to Bendigo and then the kids would arrive. So he's just a wonderful, wonderful person. But anyway, the stuff that he left were Bible studies, other things, to Christian things, magazines,
right. Literature.
Whatever he thought my need was, he would bring it. And that's where I got started on reading spiritual stuff. So yeah, that was Mr. Rose.
So he was something of a mentor for you, wasn't he, then?
He was, yeah. And he knew exactly where I was at and what I needed, where I needed to be at. And then one day he said, "Look, I've got a job for you, and that is, we need someone else in the Sunday school every Sunday." And I said, "Oh no, well that's unfortunate because I wouldn't be able to help you." So, and he said, "Oh well, what you'll need to do is just to pray about it." You know, that kind of, "Oh, okay, we'll see." And then later on he'd come again. "Have you thought about that? And have you prayed about that? And what is your answer?" And then I was like, "Look, I'll give it a go." And that's where I really saw Mr. Rose at work, because he had a lot of things happening. A very hard area to be teaching and ministering, yeah. So every year they would give, once a year they'd give the children, there were quite a lot of children there, but they'd give the children a, what's it called, Sunday school anniversary, yeah. And one child would be chosen to be the one that got the top prize, and then would be the second prize and the third prize and so on. But this one girl, who was about grade 6 I think, she got the thing every year. And we had a little meeting with other Sunday school people there, and me and Mr. Rose, and he said, I really think that this year we should choose someone else, because there are a lot of good children there and they never get first prize, because today you wouldn't do that sort of thing, but he could sense that this girl got the first prize when she shouldn't have. I mean, she was good, and she could do good stuff, but anyway, so we thought, yes, Mr. Rose, that sounds like a good idea. And came the day, and everyone was set up for the Sunday school anniversary. You've seen one of those, haven't you?
Yep.
The old Sunday school anniversary thing. And we're all, the teachers were all sitting up there, and there's kids. And came the time to distribute. Now we're going to issue the prize and things. And everyone's quiet. Who's going to get it? A room full of people. I mean, the church was full. You know, that church where we stopped that day, and I thought, well, this is the old church.
We went round the back, and it was someone's house.
This was someone's house. Anyway, Mr. Rose bravely announced that the fourth, third, second, and I think, yeah, however he did it. And the first prize goes to da-da-da-da. The mother of the child that always got it was there. And you could see her face. She was just livid with rage. She'd never heard of such a thing. That was her girl's thing. She should have been awarded first prize because of who she was and how bright and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, she got up and called out and stopped Mr. Rose from doing what he was doing. And she was so mad with Mr. Rose that she was calling him all sorts of things. I thought, what a woman. Just as well her child didn't get the first prize. And she finally sat down. Mr. Rose didn't say boo. He didn't say why. He chose. His daughter wasn't chosen for the first place. Just had the people being quiet. And then he carried on for the rest of the service without responding. And I thought, that's a strange thing to do. Why didn't he explain?